is the Conservative Colonel Podcast with Harrison Dawes, where one man stands against the rising tide of liberalism. This officer in the battle to preserve our nation is the Conservative Colonel.
Nothing ends here. Our hopes and our journeys continue.
And here's Harrison Dawes.
Welcome back to the Conservative Colonel Podcast. I'm your host, Harrison Dawes, and I'm joined by our illustrious co-host, Graves Baker.
I'm glad to be back.
I'm glad you're back too, because we got a wallop of an episode today. But before we get started, please remember to check out conservativecolonel.com. You can check out our list of platforms, some of my favorite conservative podcasts out there, Great Conservative Allies, the Best Of series, which this episode will be on, our store, and so much more. So make sure to leave us a 5-star review on your podcatcher of choice. I wouldn't mind if you did it on all the podcatchers for this episode, but our main platform is Spreaker, but we're also on Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music and Audible, Cashbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Listen Notes, and Good Pods. And we also have the video format of the show released every Wednesday. So I hope you all are doing good. It is time for the long-awaited, some of y'all probably thought we were never going to get here, the 50th episode of the Conservative Colonel Podcast. And we will be tackling the topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. And there's going to be a couple episodes similar to this probably down the road. I want to talk about universities, how crap they are. But today we're going to talk about the overall Department of Education, why we should get rid of it, and just some facts for y'all, some hard facts. This isn't a deep dive or anything, but it's something me and Graves have been wanting to do for a while. This episode was one of the first episodes I thought of when this show was started, almost closing in on 2 years ago. So I'm excited.
Episode.
What'd you say?
Celebratory episode.
Yeah, a big episode, celebratory episode. We'll be continuing the celebrations next week. I think it might just be me on, but I will have an episode out on next Thursday. We'll be reviewing the Reagan movie, I think. I don't know yet. We're just going to wing next week, but it'll be a continuation of the celebration. So, yes, tonight is our 50th episode. You're getting a bit later on Thursday, but I'm just happy it's coming out on Thursday. But before we jump into that, there was some news we just could not ignore that Graves brought to my attention that I hadn't even heard about. So without any further ado, I'm gonna hand the baton to Graves.
Well, it kind of surprised me too. You know, yesterday I saw something by the New York Times, which is a liberal newspaper for sure. And if you think anything about the Democratic Party, you know they organize really well. They pay better than Republicans. They are usually better at the ground game, minus last year. And something has just happened. You see all the chaos, like we said in the last episode in LA, with all that stuff going on there, more protests in the cities. All they do is protest and want free stuff. And the infighting within their own party, firing some of their own leaders of the DNC, co-chairs and things. But now they're broke. So the New York Times, I couldn't believe that it's put out by them first. I would have thought it'd be New York Post, who's right-wing, or Fox or something. But no, the New York Times said that they are now looking at borrowing money just to pay their bills for the rest of the year. So that means you're broke. I mean, you're just that $1 billion a year machine they had got dismantled, and they don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do. How do you manage that? How come at some point over the past year and a half, because like becoming broke ain't an overnight thing for a political group.
No.
You don't just look up like you're a business and you have lost, a good bit of money. You have to vote to spend this money. You have to sign checks, and you cannot look at me straight in the face if you're a Democrat and be like, I just snuck up on us.
Yeah, we had no idea we were out of money. They it said in that article they increased the amount that they're spending across the country because they know they just lost and they're trying to, but they don't have the money to do it. So they've promised that they're going to spend more money doing stuff, but they right now can't do it at all.
I don't know if anything describes a Democrat more than we're going to spend money, but we're going to borrow it. Like, think about that.
That was the whole Biden administration.
That was the whole Biden administration. If I don't know if it sums up them any better. The only thing that could have been that might be better is the fact that democracy was in trouble. By the way, we're a constitutional republic for the uneducated. I don't blame you because our education system's crap for not knowing that. But to save democracy, we're going to appoint our presidential nominee. We're not going to let y'all vote on him. We are going to let us, the bigwigs, choose who is challenging Trump. That would have been Vice President Harris, or now former Vice President Harris. Thank the good Lord. But this might be better. We're going to increase spending. Chairman, we're broke. Well, we're just going to borrow it.
That's the Democrat Party right now, along with everything else they're doing and being out of touch of reality. They don't know how to stop spending money. It's like, when I got my first job and I wasn't making very much and I thought I was making a lot. It was gone within 3 days, Yeah. So
we all have those moments when we're in our 20s where we spend our whole paycheck on something stupid. But the fact is, the Democrats are in their 60s and 50s doing this. So I don't know how I'm supposed to trust them with
your
my money. Yeah. I paid taxes for the first time this year. I had been avoiding it like the plague. I didn't want to pay taxes, so I've been avoiding it like the plague. And this year's the first year I paid taxes, and it nearly crippled me. But it made me sit back and think, exactly what is this being used for? The fact that I make so little and the government had to take at least 10% of the last 6 paychecks I made. Nearly 7. 10% of nearly 7 of my paychecks for the past 7 months. And I think to myself, what the heck are y'all using it for? And then I figure out it's the mating of whales in Africa or
studying the sex habits of fish.
Yeah, Sesame Street for the Iran or whatever it was.
Somewhere over there.
And I just have to sit back and think, oh my gosh. Yep. I'm proud of my government. But
well,
this is the funniest story, news story I've had on the show.
I really could not. I never saw it coming, just because how big of a machine they've been. But even the billionaires, which they are the party of, are tired of them, and they're so desperate that today the Dodgers came out with a thing saying that ICE tried to come in and set up to arrest illegals in the parking lot. ICE just said, we were never there. So the Democrats are so desperate, and their approval is at 19%, by the way, but they're so desperate that they are now trying to stage things to make themselves sound better, even when America doesn't even, we don't want you to stop them. They're so desperate, they're trying to make stuff up, and it still doesn't work.
I just want to point out the last major political party to go out of business. Now, the Democrats haven't gone out of business. They probably won't. They'll probably get some stupid person to give them billions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that this has happened, and look, I'm not a fan of the two-party system. I think I've made that clear. George Washington was against it.
either.
I'm against it. It really doesn't give you a choice because you can have what we have in the Republican Party, which are rhinos, people who aren't actually conservatives, leading the party, but you don't have anywhere else to go because that's it.
Yeah.
But the last time a political party went out of business and lost all its money was 1854. It was the Whig Party. That is the last time a major, and I have to stress a major. We've had some smaller political parties that really either didn't gain a lot of traction or was surrounded so much by one person that when that one person left, it kind of folded. But the last major party, 1854.
Was that because the Democrats were started in 1832 ish?
I think so. Yeah.
If it was 1854, now you're the historian here. Was that the Whigs that turned into Republicans, or what was the?
So the Republicans were made up mostly of former Whigs, yes. So if we want to go on a miniature history lesson here, the Whigs were kind of it's weird. They were kind of the liberals of that day. And it's weird because they formed a conservative party.
Well, I mean, ending slavery would have been seen somewhat, as progressive.
It would have been back then, yeah. And then, the classic, it was the party for the rich back then.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason it didn't win a lot of things is because the farmers and the poor people of that day, and I'm quoting directly from an old website, did not like him. But Abraham Lincoln was big. It's a crazy one. It was started during the 1790s. It was led by, and we're going to talk about this man at some point, Alexander Hamilton.
He's a controversial when it comes to viewpoints,
He is very controversial, and if you know anything about me as a Jeffersonian, you would automatically know my viewpoint on Alexander Hamilton. I don't like him. But America has a crazy political history. We might talk about that one day. The party switch never really happened. I know that's what a lot of Democrats try to say to stay.
I was actually going to say something about that too.
Well, it's a thing about the Democrats trying to say, well, this is what happened. No, what happens is parties realign themselves on other issues. And some of these issues could be conservative. Some of these could be liberal. And that's really just kind of what happens. And Graves, me and you both know this in today's world. Is there any time a politician actually does what he says he's going to do?
It's extremely rare.
Extremely rare. And so,
I mean, Trump is one of the few. Sometimes he still can't get something done, I mean.
Exactly. So, with that being said, political parties ain't no better. So, a lot of the parties changed their goals over time. I would never say there was an actual political switch. A lot of conservatives try to say that to basically sound like they are just the best people in life.
Well, liberals also
heavily push it because they don't want to be associated with some of the bad stuff in our history.
Right. Which what I was going to say about that is I cannot get behind the party switch theory for these reasons right here. In 1860s, the Democrat Party and the Dixiecrats, which really got even more power. I don't know if they were actually a thing then, but
Mm-mm. It was after war.
18, oh, okay. But in the 1960s, definitely. But 1860s, they had slaves, and I don't think that the war was necessarily about slavery, but I'm
Me either.
talking about just the party switch itself. They were the ones that had slaves, Republicans, freedom. The 1960s civil rights, Republicans are the reason that got passed. The longest filibuster until this year was a Democrat trying to filibuster the Civil Rights Act. Democrats didn't elect a black senator until the 1990s. And to this day, they are still obsessed with race and identity politics. So I do
Exactly.
not believe in the switch.
I don't believe in the switch for some of the same reasons. I think you have people that rise to power and switch what a party is all about. Uh,
Yeah.
One of the rare times a party just doesn't switch is the Democrat Republicans, which was the Jeffersonian Party, and it just would rather go out of business than do anything. It of course started with Jefferson Davis or Jefferson Davis. Now you got me thinking about 1860s history. Thomas Jefferson and James Madison in 1792, and kind of dissolved after what I call the golden age of conservative thought in America, or conservative politics, which would be 1825. After that, it's weird. We have like one or two good years, and then we don't have another for like a decade. Welcome to being a conservative.
Yeah.
You will win for a short period, and then it seems like people just are like, it's so good. Let's switch ideas. But this nation was founded on conservative thought, so I'll just put that out there.
True.
But yeah, no, I cannot like that is the last time a political party went out of business, a major one. Lost all its money and had to join another party or help form another party, which is how the Republicans today got here. Actually stealing the name from the Democratic Republicans. The Democrat Party is not the Democratic Republicans. I do want to stress that. That was another party formed. And could you imagine having two parties, both called sometimes the Democrats? It was
No.
confusing, but their spiritual successor is the Democratic Party, but that was kind of started by Andrew Jackson and Martin Van Buren. That are the founders of the today Democratic Party. But it just blows my mind how they could be out of money.
Yeah.
Blows
Kamala
my
put
mind.
him 20 million in debt after the election.
That's an impressive
Somehow,
feat.
what, she was running for 130 days and somehow went over $1 billion and went negative 20 million.
That if that doesn't tell you how bad the Democrats didn't want Trump in office, I don't know what will. Because if I'm being honest, that's all this was. So in Mississippi, I have this saying: if you want to make sure your opponent looks bad, spend a lot of money and tell everybody that he's throwing mud while you're throwing mud. Worked for Delbert Hoseman very well.
Yeah.
And money talks and people listen. But it has to tell you something that the Democrats went into debt trying to tell the world that Trump was the devil, basically. Or Hitler, their most famous one. And yet they
Even
still
though,
lost in like record fashion.
yeah, every single swing state.
Like,
I mean,
how? How do you spend that much money and still lose?
I'm pretty sure they were funding the, court cases against him for felonies that he had to go through. Biden's Department of Justice was going after Trump as well, raiding his house, things like that. So, they spent all their money trying to do all this stuff and then campaigning, even going into debt. And they haven't figured out that the American people just don't want what they're trying to do. They won't come to terms with reality even after they lost the election. They're still doing the same stuff. And because of that, they're not getting any funding and they've spent everything. And they're going to have to change. Otherwise, Democrat Party might be dying.
And this is going to be controversial, I think. But I would actually be 100% for a party closing, simply because we weren't supposed to have this monopoly of two parties being able to run the country.
Right.
It doesn't allow the expression of free thought. Also, the reason Congress has so much power is the thought process, and the only reason it's somewhat like this today is simply dumb luck by us. Are actually horrible luck considering how much we spend. There were supposed to be so many avenues of thought in Congress, and Congress had all this power that Congress would basically barely do anything unless it was very much agreed upon. And that was supposed to save us money, time. If an idea was a good idea, it would somehow make it out eventually. All these stupid ideas that have made it past Congress, Department of Education being one of them, is because of the two-party system. Because these two parties, because there's no other parties, they work together a lot. And as we all know, the Republicans I'm not going to say that comparison. That would get me definitely canceled, and I don't want to be canceled again like I was in the 25th episode. The Republicans are great at agreeing with Democrats and backing down, bringing our country continuously more to the left.
Yeah.
Because they get money out of it too. These corporations, these just billionaires funnel money through our politicians. That's why you can go into Congress broker than I am and come out a dead gum millionaire.
Yeah, like AOC, dumb as a rock, and not the country, but you know what I mean.
Yes, a bartender's worth more than I am. That hurts me. A crazy bartender at that. Could you imagine her listening to your problems at a bar? Like, we all go to bars, and, if you're having a bad day, you're going to talk to the bartender. Could you imagine her giving advice to people?
No.
Like, someone just comes in, man, my girlfriend cheated on me, and blah, 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 and I just kind of want to drink and talk about it. And she just looks at him, she does, you should take her back. She just had a rough day. Guaranteed that's something that'd come out of her mouth. I wish I could find men that went to that bar and probably the crappy advice she gave them.
There probably are some. It was New York, so
there
has to be a lot of people.
I forgot it was in New York. They might have came in as a man and walked out as a cat or a dog or an attack helicopter. Or heck, they probably came out saying that they were a woman. Because that's scientific, ain't it?
Well, that's what they believe in. That's why they got a 19% approval rating and are broke.
Yeah, it's a special power, ain't it?
Yeah.
Mental unstability. Let's turn that into one of our political stances, and let's die on that hill, actually.
They just, the 90 to 10% issues, or I guess statistically 80 to 20 issues, they choose the 20% side on everything just to oppose what Donald Trump wants to do.
That's
not necessarily a winning
type of
recipe.
hatred.
It is.
Like, let's
I
think
mean,
about that.
liberals are supporting Iran right now.
Like, of all the sides you could have taken, you could have just said you don't want to go to war.
Yeah, you don't have to take a side in that.
You don't. Yeah, you don't. Like, you could be like, hey guys, like for instance, with me, guys, I don't believe the president has the power to do this. Only Congress can declare an act of war, and so only Congress should at least be in the loop on bombing some fools. But
Yeah.
I honestly don't want to see myself or my kids have to go off to war and die in another country. We've had enough of that over the years. You're not supporting either side, but they're going to double down on Iran.
Mm-hmm.
That's a special type of stupid. Like, again, I could at least respect them being like, hey guys, I really just don't want us to go to another war.
Well, that's how I am. Unless Iran bombs us. But like I said, they want to be on the 20% issue every time because it's against us.
Yeah, no, I'm one of those Americans that's like, okay, we've been the global police force for a while now. I think we're going to hand it off to Britain or somebody. Just I try to mute my mic before that, so sorry everybody. But I'm tired of us being a global police force and coming in like a dad, splitting up two kids fighting. If it doesn't directly involve us, I'm good.
Yeah.
And someone pointed this out to me, and it made me laugh. They've been like, Iran's been nearly having a nuclear missile for 20 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to pick something else. But, either way, how you fall on that, we're not getting into that issue this episode. Maybe in a couple episodes we'll talk about it. But, again, of all the sides you could have picked on that debate, we're going to just stick up for Iran. Anti-women's rights, against the alphabet committee, I like to call them, the LGBTQ plus, hashtag community. Yeah. They're against everything the Liberal Party stands for.
Literally.
And then the Liberal Party backs them.
Because they don't live in reality. And that is why they have no money.
They ain't got no money. All right, everybody. We're actually not going to take any commercial breaks this episode unless me and Graves are just dying.
I should be okay. I don't think my neighbor's dog is trying to attack us yet.
That's good. That's good. So, was there anything else? I could have swore we said we were going to talk about something else.
Well, no, I don't think so.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and jump into the big topic of this episode. The Department of Education. The Department of Education was started in October 17th, 1949. 45 years ago, so it's still...
79, you mean?
79, what did I say?
49.
No, 79, my bad. It's about 45 years old, so my father's older than the Department of Education. Since its founding, and Jimmy Carter ran on this, thinking, I suppose, as soon as a lot of money and big government gets involved, isn't everything successful?
That's what Democrats think.
That's what they think. But over a 45-year, we've only increased the budget. Every year the budget has increased. And I have a little statistic here. Let me pull it up. The budget since its founding has been raised over 180%. And that is around 2010 statistics. Enrollment is up 90%, I can give them some credit.
Well, that's still double the increase of enrollment, so that's making it more expensive for us.
Yeah. And then let's see here. Oh, wait, no, I read the wrong line. I'm sorry. That's employees.
Oh,
Employees is up 90%. Most of them getting nice, cushy administrative jobs, doing, I'm sure, things that are very important for a school, don't you think, Graves?
well, I'd say it was so important to the people employed in the Department of Education that 90% of them work from home.
I found the enrollment line. It's up 5% since we created it.
Oh,
So yeah, students are definitely getting all this money, by the way. And then everything else, reading scores have actually dipped, like not even non-changed. The reading scores are down a negative percentage point.
yeah, I'm sure my mom would agree with that.
Math has had a roller coaster of a time, but never going above scores predating the Department of Education. It's only went down and went back up to 0%. And then my favorite is science, and this will not become a shock to anybody, is about 15% down by the 90s. And then it kind of went up for a bit. And then I guarantee you it's probably went down in recent years simply because of what the left have pushed. So that's some statistics for you on how the Department of Education has been ran. And we have just so many more of these, don't we, Grace?
Oh, there's a lot of stats about it. I mean, the fact that we've spent over $3 trillion total since 1979 on it, and like you said, none of the numbers have gone up.
No.
And in fact, we've gone from number 1 in the world to number 24.
Yeah, that's a special statistic. But also, did you know that the Department of Education has 4,200 employees? These aren't teachers. These are people that decide what should be taught. It takes 4,000 people to come up with a crappy education system. I don't really know how to go into that any more than it is. We've increased the budget. We've increased how many people go into the education field. Now, for those who don't know, I am actually a future educator. Graves, ask me why I decided to be an educator.
Why is that?
Because history is so poorly taught, it honestly makes me cry.
I can agree. I mean, my college, that history class at Ole Miss, where we both went.
Don't get me started on Ole Miss. Ole Miss is going to be a whole episode. I could do a whole episode on the downfall of the history subject.
Well, we're ranked 37th in math in the world right now. I just looked that up. 37th.
That's impressive, the downfall of our education system. And I do want to point out, and we'll talk about some Trump victories in education in a second, and I'm sure Graves has that statistic ready because we talked about it a bit beforehand. But Trump can't get rid of the Department of Education without our help. It was made with an act of Congress, and as people who study government knows, the only people that can overrule Congress is Congress.
Mm-hmm.
We need to put pressure on all our senators and representatives because we need 100% of the Republicans in there. And we need even a small percentage of Democrats to agree with us. And I think we can get it. But we have to start putting pressure on our representatives. Because the other side that's putting pressure to keep it, and we'll talk about them soon, they're getting paid a lot to make sure that they don't want to lose this job.
Right.
But So only an act of Congress can destroy this. So hopefully by the end of this episode, you agree with me and Graves in thinking that the Department of Education is useless and the power should be overturned to the states. By the way, the federal government doesn't have the power to touch education technically. Um,
It's
there
not
is
in the Constitution.
And what is one of my favorite things about the Constitution? It is this simple sentence right here. The powers delegated to the federal government are in the Constitution, and the powers not delegated to the federal government in this Constitution are hereby delegated to the states.
Yep.
If California wants to have a crappy education system, that's fine by California.
Yes, if you want to teach trans there, sure. But like the Biden administration, their Department of Education was pushing those like trans books and sexual stuff in books that were fine, to them in being a fourth grader's library. So, we don't need that type of stuff, but that's what our taxes have been funding.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they try to say it's like Nazi Germany when they were burning books. No, we just don't want you teaching our kids about that. You should be teaching them how to do math so we're not 37th in the world, and how to, I don't know, actual biology, so they don't think that they could change genders and be that. And my dog just screamed. But there's so many things that getting rid of the Department of Education, not federalizing it, states getting the money, and being able to choose what you want to teach.
Which I could, and I'm going to, because I'm a little pissed at my Department of Education right now. You can put pressure on your state Department of Education. Like you can't if I called the National Department of Education and told them, I don't like how they're teaching American history. I think they're butchering it. Graves, what do you think they're going to tell me?
They won't respond.
They won't respond. But I can go up to my state Department of Education headquarters and bang on their door. I live 2 hours from it. Even if you live 3 or 4 hours, that's better than 10 to 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And hoping that you can get someone on the phone that will take you seriously. But, we talked about this. Reading's down, math is down, science is down, history is obviously down because you have people that don't know who wrote the Declaration of Independence, can't say the Constitution, can't say the Declaration of Independence,
They don't know what year we were founded.
Don't know what year we're founded, don't know that we're a constitutional republic. Heck, the majority of our politicians don't know we're a constitutional republic.
Yeah, they all say democracy.
They all say we're a democracy, or Trump is a danger to democracy. Well, what is a democracy? Democracy is mob rule.
Which is literally what they want.
Yeah, because they know they can control the mob. They've become pretty efficient at it. Just look at the riots.
Yep.
But that's all they want, is they want control and power. But again, that's part of our history. That's not taught. People don't know who Thomas Jefferson was or George Washington was, really. They're told that they're just bad, evil people that should burn in hell.
That had slaves, even though that was their party.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to ignore the hell out of that fact. And how
even before their party, you know what I mean? Because it was just a thing, and then it was only Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, they don't want to teach real history. I know they don't. They don't want to teach real math. They don't want to teach real life skills these students could use. Like, here's how you pay your taxes. Because I might be against the majority of taxes, but we're going to have to pay taxes at some point for something.
Well, and the Department of Education, they, put into place like what you can teach. And like my mom would say, you could have kids that just, they just don't get it. You got to kind of change the way you teach. You got to have more time with those. But the Department of Education was saying, no, you got to teach them all the same. They all take the same tests. They all get taught the same way. It doesn't work like that. Not everyone is the same.
Exactly. And That's what makes me mad about it. There's so many things we could be teaching at school: how to balance a checkbook, how to study
Yeah.
a Bible if you're in the Pine Belt here in Mississippi, how to do this, how to do that, even if you don't agree with that stuff being there. Well, okay, go talk to your city, go talk to your state. Don't make it a thing there. But the fact of the matter is, the Department of Education federalizing education when they didn't have the power to do so, which shocker, shocker, our government doesn't have the power to do a lot of things that it does,
Hmm.
has made it worse off. You can't show me a single statistic that shows that education has actually improved over the past 45 years. It's declined. How many times, Graves, have you heard from a parent? I just don't understand what they're teaching the kids these days.
Yeah. I
It's
mean, that's
because, like, we have gotten more advanced in some things too, like mathematics, for instance. My niece and nephew, God bless them, they're already on algebra, and they have trig and all this stuff left. And I was like, oh, we didn't even have trig in my high school. Um, but
really.
again, yeah, oh, yeah, no.
I
But
took trig in 10th grade.
I took algebra, I'm gonna forget the words now. It's been so long.
Well, my senior year, I was able to take either calculus 1
I
or
took
algebra
calculus.
3, and I did algebra 3. And then I went to college and had to do calculus 1 and 2. And God, I hate
Oh,
calculus.
I
But
hate calculus and
I
algebra.
had a good teacher, though, so therefore I ended up with a B in it both times. You know, that's the thing. Like, you get a good teacher. A good teacher is like the best thing in the world. But the way the Department of Education was trying to get everyone to do things, you're pretty lucky to find some and then not have one that maybe, is all caught up on their own opinions like there are these days. But
Yeah, and like again, we talked about it. Yes, we have advanced, but nothing has improved, and so that's kind of a head scratcher, ain't it, Grant Graves? You got me thinking about the war now, and all I'm thinking about is Confederate generals and Union generals. Now, look what you've done.
sorry.
But isn't that a head scratcher? We've somehow improved how much information these kids are being taught, but they're not retaining it as well. They're not learning as well. They're not able to apply it as well. They're not able to do anything as well. Again, we've talked about it. People don't remember their history. English has depleted. Literature has depleted. Reading and writing skills have depleted. All these things that are essential to being a good citizen, being a productive member of society, even things that we are supposed to be teaching, is on a constant decline. Since taking away the power of the states and the parents, mind you, parents should have a lot more say in what their kids are being taught.
Yeah.
Education has been on a constant decline. As Graves said, we went from #1 in the world before the Department of Education to 24th, and that is out of 64 countries.
And 37th the math. That's the worst one, but it's just like, wow. But I just can't help but think about the fact that all that money we spent that came out of our taxes, 3 trillion, and the states have hardly had any say. And now we are where we are.
Yeah. I mean, and we're going to talk about where the money has went. All the things that the DoD, that the Department of Education has done and does now. Graves, do you think that the Department of Education, all the jobs it does, was started by them?
No.
No, all the things that the Department of Education provides to education was done before them, with either smaller departments or groups on city and state levels that had specialties in that department. So say, math. How are we going to teach math? Well, how about we have these group of mathematics you tell us? How are we going to organize school? Well, let's have a guy that ran this, company tell us. And that's another topic.
Yeah.
How should we do this? How should we do that? Well, these people have a history of doing that. Now, it's all under one big umbrella. So people think that, for example, public schools were shut down without the Department of Education. No, public schools were around before the Department of Education. Lunches. Kids won't have lunches anymore, Graves. They'll starve to death.
Right.
No. Before that, the kids still got 3 good meals a day. They packed a lunch, or the school even provided it in a lot of cases without the federal government being involved. Closing the Department of Education will not change a thing. It will go back to how it was before.
Matters.
No, not the stuff that matters. It will get rid of the corruption that we've been talking about. Speaking of corruption, let's talk about the teacher unions.
Terrible.
The teachers unions are some of the most powerful unions in the United States of America. The American Federation of Teachers is the second largest teachers' labor union in America, one of the largest unions in America, and is only dwarfed by the National Education Association. It has roughly 1.7 million members. And the National Education Association has nearly 2.8 million members.
It's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. That's a lot of powerful people. Unions can direct so much. But notice, since reading about them, I noticed that they are more about protecting teachers than they are the students. Teachers getting tenure, teachers getting pay raises, teachers getting this type of ability, that type of ability. The pushing of political ideas has come in through the teachers' unions, and they have made sure to influence the Department of Education. And people in these unions get paid a crap ton of money, by the way. I wonder where that money comes from, Graves. What do you think?
I'm going to take a guess that it's you and me.
Yep. We pay these teachers to control the overall education and the Department of Education. That's the funny thing. The Department of Education pays the student unions, but the student unions tells the Department of Education how to run.
The teachers union tells them how to run the whole thing?
Not the whole thing, but they're heavily influential. Let's say political ideas.
How
does that
transgender books and stuff?
Yeah. The student unions are the ones that push that. The student unions are the ones that have protected the Department of Education. The student unions are the people that are asking for more and more money. Why are they doing that? They ask for more administration roles in school. They ask for more of this, more of that. Why? It's simple. Money. And there has been multiple documentaries proving that the student unions hurt students overall because they only care about the teachers.
Yeah.
That's weird to say, but I'm a future teacher, Graves.
Well, they all they want to do is get more raises, but they'll also go on strike for, taking the sexual books out of children's libraries in public school, and they'll say they're not going to work.
Exactly. The student unions are some of the most what's the word? Influential unions in America. All the money they get, they push back into making sure what gets passed helps them.
Yep.
Here's another statistic. Let's see here. The monies go to the unions and administration, not students. It goes to making new administration positions. It goes to unions to help teachers, by the way, to give to states. We talked about that, Graves. I don't think me and you both agree that the states get much of anything until Trump got into office.
No. And hopefully we can get Congress to actually finalize that.
Yeah. And again, the teacher unions are so powerful that they have a grip hold, a monopoly, if you will, on all of education. They control the Department of Education. The Department of Education is almost like a figurehead, someone that says, okay,
Right.
well, I'm running this, but the teacher unions are so extremely influential that I don't think the Department of Education would dare go against this teachers union. They probably
wouldn't.
Jinx, you owe me a soda. And one of the last things I found out, and then me and Graves are just going to shoot the crap on the education. This is kind of the last thing I have planned. Actually, I have a couple more things I could talk about. Let me pull that up. Let's see here. I am going to say I got this source from the Brett Cooper show. And she is quoting someone talking about the Department of Education. That money, in other words, hasn't been effectively used to educate our youth. It has disappeared into the maw of the Department of Education with no accountability for failure. The departments not related to education activities are also well known. Federal bureaucrats, for example, spent 3 years seeking to replace sex in federal education amendments. Those bureaucrats are the student union, by the way. In federal education amendments to the Civil Rights Act with sexual orientation and gender identity. They have interfered with the teacher's ability to remove disruptive and dangerous students from the classroom. I can confirm that. One of my friends who, much like me, is going into education, he had a fight break out in his classroom at least once a day. And the school told him that the Department of Education tells him just to sit there and call the office. Don't break it up. Don't try to stop it. Let the kid keep beating the crap out of him. And guess what, Graves? You can't even suspend them.
Wow.
And they have to promote a seamlessly endless stream of woke politics at the expense of our cohesiveness and to undermine the pride in being an American. Again, we've talked about this with history. They hate America. They're going to teach you to hate America. Critical race theory was taught in schools. We basically told everybody who is white that they suck. The result,
They did.
They are turning out generations of children who can't read or do math but believe America is evil. And if that doesn't sum up education, I don't know what will.
Well, I mean, you said something about they're not allowed to be suspended. And one time, there was a kid in my mom's class. She taught at public school at South Panola in Batesville. And this kid, 4th grade, took her phone and took it back to his house, got on her Facebook and stuff because he changed the password somehow. And I was out playing golf. I got a text message from my mom saying, "I'm going to kill you." I was like, what? You know? I go back to my mom's house. She's like, "I don't know where my phone is." And so we did all this stuff, go to find my iPhone, and we drove like 30 minutes out of Batesville to where this phone is pinging to the kid's house. And the phone gets found. The school still doesn't suspend him or give him detention or anything, but he also texted another teacher there, along with me, that he was going to kill them. They still didn't do anything about it.
Yep. Because it's more important to have more students, because you know what happens if schools have more students, Graves?
Get more money.
More money. And greed is definitely one of the most powerful sins. It will make people do crazy things. So every time the student unions or the Department of Education say, "What about the children?" they're meaning, "What about my money?" Because it's obvious they don't care about this.
Yeah.
And I mean, we even talked about this a bit before the show, Graves. Do you think all the money goes to teachers or administratives or education or our students? Or do you think they maybe use some of their money to, I don't know, secretly fund illegal immigrants?
Well, it seems they did that part.
They did. And I get this lovely information from Project Veritas, who did an interview undercover with Travis Combs, branch chief of the Department of Education, where he says that the Department of Education is hiding secrets from Doge and Congress on encrypted apps to keep themselves out of trouble, and that they are providing rogue sanctuary programs for illegal immigrants with their funding.
I believe it. I mean,
And that is from, and I'll post this on our Facebook page, from Project Veritas, from the deputy or the chief or the branch chief of the Department of Education, Travis Combs, in an interview where I don't know if he knew he was being interviewed. If he did, he probably thought it was the New York Times, the Washington Post, who was going to give him the most glowing review. But that's a story that broke back in February I haven't heard a lot about.
there's a lot of corruption in that, and all that money too. I think it's funny that, like we said, nothing goes up, but teacher salaries have increased, which I'm not totally against, except for the fact that none of it's not increasing anything with our kids.
Yeah, like, look, trust me, I would love for salaries to go up. I'm about to be a teacher. I would rather not be poor. But if I'm not performing well, if my students are not learning, the question has to be stated, am I doing my job as a teacher?
Right.
And the answer would be no. And this also asks a very interesting thing, Graves, with this Travis Combs fella. If they're spending money on this, and this has just been discovered, that they've illegally used our taxpayer dollars, they've illegally used that, let's see, what did they got this last year for their budget? $238 billion for just 1 year's budget. They used some of that money to give illegal immigrants a place to stay. Graves, do you think this is the
That's
first
crazy.
time they've done that?
I would probably say no. And I also want people to realize that amount of money per year is 1/4 of what we spend on our military per year.
Ooh.
With no results?
With no result. Well, actually, stuff going in the negative.
Yeah.
Not only has there not been any change, but stuff has actually progressively gotten worse.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this. I think the discipline of history is crumbling, and I can thank universities and high schools for that. And so that begs the question: if this is what we've caught them doing, what else have they used that money for that we don't know about?
Right.
Like, that's a very serious question that we need to all ask as Americans, as parents, as teachers, as students, as citizens of this country. If we figured out they were using illegal money for their political beliefs once, there's a good chance they've done it in the past. The past 45 years, that money could have been used for something.
Yeah.
And now we've also learned that they're using encrypted mobile apps to hide things from Doge and Congress, secret conversations. Are they planning on using more money illegally? Are they planning on who knows what? What are they hiding? Why can they use their official modes of communication? Why are they scared of what Doge and Congress is going to find?
Well, because if you wouldn't be scared if you didn't have anything to hide, but they do.
And that's exactly the question I'm going to be asking our listeners everywhere. What are they hiding at the Department of Education?
And
If
what have they done that would make you support keeping it?
Yeah, we have a lot of useless departments, but I don't know if one has been criminally promoted. Budget increases. Again, I believe we have a lot of stupid departments, but the Department of Education might be the worst. I would go on record saying it probably is the worst, most corrupt department we have. And trust me, there's a lot out there. The federal government didn't have the constitutional right to do this back when it was founded in 1979, and it has just made us worse as a country. There's no ifs, ands, or buts on that.
That's why you see the craziness you see out on the streets today. I mean, everybody's been indoctrinated, especially in college, but even at the lower levels.
Well, I mean, you got to think, Graves. Me and you grew up in a mostly conservative area. So if we could say that high school was a bit indoctrinated and our universities are very much indoctrinating us, what about liberal cities? What about liberal areas? What about California, New York, Chicago, Richmond, Virginia, heck, Miami, Florida, all these major Democratic liberal strongholds? What are their schools teaching them? What is the Department of Education teaching them? That is a very interesting question. And I honestly don't know. If you don't think the Department of Education should be shut down after this, I really don't know what to tell you. I really have no idea. I would ask that everybody please share this episode out. Let's get this moving. Let's get a movement started today. Everybody who watches this show, share this out. Send it out. If you want us to do a more in-depth episode on the Department of Education, let us know. Me and Graves will do the research.
Yeah.
This is just what we found lightly researching this topic.
We hadn't even gone in to look at everything because you can go find what the Department of Education, what they spend their money on. Like, you can find every single thing.
Yep.
Most of it was not good for us. I'll say that.
No, not at all. And so again, if this is something that's happening now on this line of research, could you imagine how much worse it is? So again, please share this episode out. Let's have the biggest numbers we've ever had for a Conservative Colonel podcast episode. Let everybody know what we're thinking. And if we get a lot of people asking for a sequel to this, we'll do it. And we'll tear it down. But we need y'all's help. Trump cannot take down this department alone. It's going to take Congress. And in order to get Congress, we have to get the people. So share this out as much as you can, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Again, please check out conservativecolonel.com and leave a 5-star review in your podcatcher of choice. And until next time, God bless America and God bless Mississippi.